This podcast is rated R for restricted. Under 17 requires accompanying parent or adult guardian. Mission success.
I can't use it, John. You're not recording. All right, you're recording now?
I am recording. I told you. I do what you tell me to, even when I don't want to. It's
you
fucking
didn't. You didn't just then, and I have noted that, and you will be punished later.
I have the recording on Zoom. I got the Zoom recording.
Oh, he's got the Zoom. We're gonna post it on the interwebs.
I got it all the way through, baby.
Oh, did I tell you guys we got kicked off of Threads like a week after?
Oh, really? That's awesome.
I didn't know you could get kicked off Threads.
Well, apparently you can, and it wasn't hard. So there you go.
What did you do?
Cool. What'd you do?
I tried to friend a lot of people. I don't know how social media works. I just fucking followed people until it told me I was reaching the limit. And after a week of that, it was like, you're a bot. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm a human.
I'm not a bot. I'm not a person. I'm a real boy. I have a real podcast.
Yeah, and I tried to fix it, but I couldn't.
We've never heard of your podcast.
We should look into Mastodon and find if there's an existing group that.
All
would
right,
be
John.
good.
This is you. You say things like this.
I know. I immediately regretted it.
Yeah, you do that. I don't even know what Mastodon is.
I don't either.
We got to get a donation. It's a metal band from the 80s.
Whoever's listened, we're going to have a donation sign up at some point soon, and you can donate to our
and this
fund.
is a few people's last episode because we're asking them for money now.
It's
been 7 years of
we're gonna pass.
You guys are barely tolerable, and now you're going to try to make me do something for you.
Whatever you can give, a couple dollars, maybe a dollar.
I was listening to you guys to fall asleep, and now you ask me for money, and that makes me enraged, and now I'm wide awake.
Our
so
podcast, you could come listen to John's day or Denny's day, right? What they did in the morning, what they're doing now when they took shit. It's a great podcast, don't you think? Give us $2. Come on.
You'll get the inside.
That's all we need.
Come on, I want your quarters. I'll tell you what I should.
$2 from everybody, and we'll all be happy. All right, come on. At least pay the website bill.
What are we doing? We were just about to start trivia, and we all decided we need to go take a break.
Right. Yeah, because it's so boring as being on the podcast. Oh shit!
Let's just savor our last Hitchcock film.
Oh yes.
How does my breath feel on your neck, John? Is that nice?
Good.
No, Denny, let me pour some hollandaise on you.
Someone's got to write down the time code on that. That's the keeper right there. That's the trailer for this episode.
Nasty.
Jesus.
I won't be able to have a friggin' Benedict in a year from now. It's gonna be a while.
Nah, it's still good.
Look at
you
that.
Go in there Sunday morning.
Good.
You're still gonna have your Benny.
That poached egg looks like Hitchcock's bald head.
Oh, Denny.
Yes, Denny, I'm here with you.
I assure you, I'm much harder than that Denny Kung feel.
I don't know. I bet his head might be squishy like a little baby's head. Don't press too hard down on it, or it'll be squished forever.
Denny, I am quite firm. Let me show you.
Oh God! Potentially the dirtiest thing John's ever said.
Fast.
So Hitchcock would not direct motivation or characters. He didn't give a shit about the actors.
He didn't give a shit about them, right?
He cared about the blocking and the way things looked. So the actors they would do like the blocking when they tested out the scene. They would do all the blocking. So like where they stood compared to where the camera was. If there was camera movement, they had to time it out.
Because that was important.
It was for him, for Hitchcock.
To him, right. What they did, like what their faces looked like, he didn't give a shit.
The dialogue was all in there. So that was kind of, that was there. But they needed to the actors needed to busy themselves. So like he would give them a line. He would give them, you need to stand here. And in between this line and this line, you need to move from here to here. And the actors themselves would have to figure out, why would I move from here to here?
Oh, okay.
Right? So otherwise, all he did was you stand here, you say a line, you stand here, you say a line.
He just wanted their positions. He wanted to know where the camera was. He wanted to, again, they were like robots to him in terms of they just need to do this.
So whenever you see the actors bending over, picking up newspapers, eating candy, I don't know if you noticed that Norman Bates was eating candy
so they're
the whole
desperately
time.
trying to
that was
find
his thing.
reasons for themselves.
Yeah, Anthony Perkins was like, this will be my thing. I'll always have candy.
Oh, good
so
for
I
him.
had something to do with my hands.
Did he have a career after this?
He was in Psycho 2 and Psycho 3.
Okay. He was
So
stuck.
that was his career?
So apparently the butt wiggle was too much. He shouldn't have done that.
He fucked
up his career.
Bad move. Thanks, Hitchcock.
Yeah. Kind of surprising, though. I thought he was really good, especially for such an old movie.
Talented, skilled.
Yeah.
He was, yeah.
The set was extremely secretive. To start rumors about the set, they put out kind of a casting call in Hollywood for casting the mother character. So it was out there that there was an actual mother. So the people thought
that's cool.
the mother character was there.
Oh my God, that's pretty cool.
They actually did cast a bunch of people for the voice of Mother. Every time you hear her talk was a different actor saying the lines. So they had different voice actors for Mother. And whenever you saw her, also different characters each time.
In the film?
In the film.
It was a different character?
Yep. And it was never Anthony Perkins until the very end.
Wow.
So whenever you saw her, it was either
that's very
a dummy.
strange that it was a different person every time. I didn't notice that.
Yeah. I thought when they showed the outline of the mother in the shower scene that I thought it looked like Anthony Perkins, but it wasn't. And it was a woman.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah.
they tried to make it as vague as possible with the voices and showing it just to make you like not know, just be confused.
It's just interesting that, again, like Hitchcock knew what he wanted to do with this film the whole time. So he wanted as much as possible to prevent anybody from knowing what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Like including like, so that's really funny that they are actually like casting the mother so that people would think the mother was real.
It's good marketing for sure.
Yeah. He was good at marketing himself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
he was very audience
part
based.
Of his success.
He always tried to think about what the audience would be thinking.
Yeah. He was like, he's like creating thrill rides.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what he wanted to do.
Good for him. Good job.
Yes.
Good for you.
I show you a good time. yes, you might feel creepy now and icky afterwards, but you had fun, right?
Come back to my next movie.
Yes, come back. Take a shower.
It's so gross.
Get in there. I'll hold the knife.
My rubber knife.
So the hotel and the house were studio set in the back lot of Universal. So all that was just constructed for the movie. Nothing, no trickery there. There was a scene where they were shooting. It was like the raining scene. So in the scene where it's raining and you see the house and the hotel in the shot, they set everything up. They got the lighting perfect. They got all the water machines going good. And they started trying to shoot. And Hitchcock went to the production designer and was like, "You fucked up, man." This is how Hitchcock talks now. You fucked
like
up,
hey,
royally.
man, you fucked up, bro.
Dude, you fucked up, man. This is just not.
Started
man,
shoving him,
no.
shoving him in the shoulder.
I gotta say, man, this is fucked up, man. You fucked us up, bro.
I love to see a Chuck talk like that.
Yeah.
But so the guy's like, "What do you mean? Like, I've planned this so thoroughly. Like, what could I have possibly done?" And he brought him over to where the camera was, and he pointed him at where they were shooting, and there was a full moon in the shot.
Oh.
And they didn't want the full moon in the shot. They wanted it to be dark because they had set the lighting for not a full moon in the shot.
Right.
And it was like perfectly in the wrong spot where it would be there like all night because they were shooting at nighttime outside.
Oh.
So what they did is they got one of the grips on set to build this thing where on a black stick with a black circle stand in front of the camera and block the moon with a little circle on a stick in every shot, and they shot the entire night.
Wow.
And those are the shots they use in the movie.
That's pretty cool.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean,
block it. It's a light like anything else.
Yeah.
Right? It makes
That's what they
sense.
did.
It's logical.
the fucking grip stood there for 8 hours holding that fucking
the guy's like,
stick up in the air.
you fucked us up, man. He's like, no, I got this. Hold on. Let me just cut this out.
Yeah,
and every time,
Jimmy, get over here.
Every
what
take,
are you gonna do?
the moon's moving. So every take, he's like, all right, down to the left a little bit more. Okay, tell me when. Tell me when.
Yep.
All right, right there. Okay, go.
Jimmy,
there,
you're the
don't
moon
move.
blocker.
God
You're gonna
damn
be
it,
the
you
moon blocker.
moved.
What?
You moved.
I had to sneeze. I'm sorry. Fuck. When they were doing the voiceovers in the car, Hitchcock was on set reading the lines as they were spoken because like they had those all written, but he was reading them out loud and then she was reacting to them. So it was just Hitchcock.
Yeah. Hitchcock and her on the
That's
set.
fair.
Yes.
It's like, yes.
You stole the money.
Playing her like a violin.
Sal Bass would be pissed if you thought that he didn't direct that shower scene.
Sal Bass.
It's a good name.
It is.
That
I'm
is
pretty
good.
sure they
Yeah.
use it in Seinfeld.
It's like
as
a record
character.
producer.
Oh,
like a good,
yeah. Did they?
Yeah, they
Look it
they
up.
do.
Who is Sal Bass?
Sal Bass is like, I think it's the guy that says they think it's Salman Rushdie. And then he introduced himself. He's like, I'm Sal Bass. Yeah.
For the shower scene, that was water. It was real water. Believe it or not, no special effects there. They had to keep that
chocolate
water
syrup
heated.
for the blood, though, right?
Oh, yep, chocolate sauce for the blood.
Yeah.
But that everyone was naked. There, it's like the body shots were the nude model, and then the face shots were the actor. And that water got cold because they shot for 7 days. So like they would frequently need to take breaks to let the water heater catch up.
Oh wow!
Because you couldn't have them in there in cold water because
no,
you're not
because
going to be able
come
to.
on.
That's torture.
That wouldn't work well.
It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. It was the implant, Denny. The episode.
Implant. Which one? Oh,
Remember
Terry Hatcher.
Yeah.
That was the one.
George thinks it's Salman Rushdie.
They put so many different storylines into every episode of that show.
I know. It's so good. Anyway.
Seinfeld. It was not Janet Leigh in the dragging scene. That was the model.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not her. They stabbed watermelons for sound. They actually took knives.
Yeah. Nice. Okay.
That seems good. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't hear the sound of the actual stabbing over the reet.
Oh, you couldn't? It was in there. It was kind of a wet. It was a wet sound.
I didn't really hear that. Yeah.
It was the most graphic part of the whole scene, I think.
I wasn't wanting to hear it. Blocked it out.
You got the chocolate syrup as the blood. They tried a bunch of different stuff, but the chocolate syrup came out the best. They did like screen tests and stuff. Mm-hmm. Hitchcock he was a timely person. He would never work past 6 p.m. A few times he had to, and he would be pissed if he had to. He always like went home. So in this movie, it was so fast that people on the crew were worried about the dailies. So they waited. At this time, apparently you could like get dailies that night. Like if you did the morning shoot, you could like send them off for the afternoon and then watch the morning shoot in the evening.
At night.
And people would do that.
Pretty impressive back then.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's hard to do now.
Yeah. So, but Hitchcock wouldn't watch the dailies until the day after. So like people were able to like remove some bad things from the dailies. Like the crew would like manipulate what he got to see before he saw it, sort of thing. So that was going on.
Yeah.
That shot of her where it was like when she was dead and it was in her eye and it pulled back and then turned to the right, was over 20 takes for that shot.
Well,
oh wow.
Ah man, poor girl.
Her neck was bent. Like that looked very uncomfortable.
I know. It's not yeah. That was another very striking shot, like you said, Denny. Like I think you say you thought that was the best shot of the film?
I mean that one or the last shot where his face quickly goes to a skeleton, like those two.
Yeah. Those are what are main. That's like striking scenes. Yeah, I agree.
So when he pushes the car into the lake, that was a pretty thought out effect. They drained that lake. It was a real lake in the Universal backlot. They drained it and they put in like a thing that lifts a car up. I'm not a car guy. I've never owned a car. Car lift? Yeah. The lift car lifty thing.
You know the thing that lifts
it's called a car lift? That's the car lift. I should have known that.
Like a wench? A wench?
A wench. That's what they said. A wench. So they put that in the drained lake and then they filled it up with mud again. And then they use like when he pushes it, he's not actually pushing it. They're pulling it with like an iron cable or some kind of cable onto this winch.
Yeah.
And then it lowers the car because it's on a platform.
That was well done. And it was also an entertaining.
It was it totally not needed shot, but sure, it was great.
I thought it was fun when we were with him, right? When he's like, "Oh shit, it's not going to sink."
Exactly. Like, oh. No. And Hitchcock mentions this in the interviews about how
that's when we're on his side, right?
Right, exactly. And that's what he wants that to be the case where once our heroine is dead, like you said, like it's the baton passing, right?
Yeah, right.
So now we're with Bates, and we're actually. He mentions this in other interviews about like you have like your spy thriller or whatever. You have the bad guy, the thief coming into the house, and the audience worries that you might get caught. And that Hitchcock loves that idea that you basically have the bad guy, but you can create anxiety in the audience for the bad guy. And you can do that even for Bates here. We're with him, right? We're like experiencing, oh no, it's not sinking all the way. That feels like
it's like we don't want more trouble. We don't want the stress. Right. And if the car doesn't sink, then we're going to feel stress. And I don't want that.
That really means you've done something with your film where you've got the bad guy and you've got the audience siding a little bit with the bad guy. Then you really like,
and then we move on. Now here's the second act,
Hitchcock really wants,
which now he's the main character. So there you go.
Yeah. So. But it was well done. I like that. I like that sequence, though. It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
and again,
he's just like eating his candy. He looks like he's biting his nails. He's like,
part of that is Perkins and his expressions as he's just sitting there. Like he does
the way
that
he
really well.
When it stops moving, he like stops eating the candy and then like looks behind him. He's like, "Fuck, what do I do now?"
Right, exactly. Like, oh shit, this is not going to be good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, this is good. Now I'm happy.
Okay, it's going. Okay,
it's going. Okay, we're good. We're good.
Maybe just a mud bubble. I don't know.
It is. We're good.
They wrote this movie with the censors a lot in mind. They, every step of the way they thought about what they could get away with.
Sort of like get around the technicalities of
they
what
knew
the
it would
censors
be pushing
would approve of.
The boundaries, and they thought of like, all right, this is going to be controversial. How do we get around this? How do we make it so like it needs to be in the movie? Because the censors would be like,
we do, and we're edgy and pushing the boundaries, but we can still like release our movie. Because that was it then, right? It's not like, oh, you're going to get a different rating. It's like, no, you're not going to be. This is not going to be allowed.
Yeah, you're not going to be
Right.
released in the theaters.
Like you're not going to even let it be, right?
Yeah.
Not going to see it.
And it's weird that when Hitchcock was making this, he was like, I don't know about this movie. I don't think he didn't think it was that good when he was making it. He was having a lot of fun when he was making it, according to him.
There was a
at
naked
one time.
woman that he
Yeah,
got
that's
to
right.
spend a couple days with.
Yeah, right.
But he thought like in mid-production, he's like, I don't think this is going to work. Maybe I'll split this up and make it into like a 2-episode TV movie, like 2-hour-long episodes for TV instead. So like,
wow,
he didn't have confidence in the project. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
That's really weird.
Oh, because he didn't like the actors, doesn't like the story, doesn't give a shit about this.
Well, or
He's
you
an
just
asshole.
don't
He's
know
a
until it's all
fucking
put
prick.
together. I don't know. That's interesting.
And he didn't have the time to be like,
what
all
you ultimately, what you
precise about
ultimately
everything.
don't know is how the audience was going to respond. I guess he just didn't know. He's thinking about what he wants to do, I imagine, but maybe you just don't know until that they do those screenings or whatever. Everybody freaks out, and you're like, oh, okay, this is good. We've just freaked out everybody. This is going to be good.
Yeah.
And then,
Maybe.
so again. Then retrospectively, you can talk about all the things you did in order to accomplish that. Like after
Isn't that nice when you can do that?
Yeah,
I knew what I was doing all the time. That's what TC thinks everyone does all the time.
This is how
100%.
Yes, but it did. It
Start
did
out
work,
with a plan, and you end up something much better, and you're like, oh yeah, I meant that. Absolutely.
It's a different tone. I don't know. Another movie that I think of when I think of just in terms of like getting a reaction, freaking people out is like Alien. You hear like Ridley Scott talk about it when we like looked at the movie. He's not really talking about manipulating the audience or anything. He's focused on the story and the characters. It's different in that sense. Like even though Alien was a similar film where people were totally freaking out when it was released and people were watching it in terms of like being horrified, but it's not about manipulating the audience. Is about telling an effective story with effective characters, and he's giving credit to the characters, and it's different when you hear Hitchcock talk about what he did with this film.
And I mean, so putting it back into like the context of when this movie came out, we watched Diabolique, and that movie was not scary. I mean, I think there was like some imagery that was like, okay, that's a little creepy.
The dead body imagery was freaky,
right? But the story was like,
particular.
It was definitely like not as good as this, right? Like the acting wasn't as good.
Right,
the way it was put together was definitely, it seemed a lot older, even though it wasn't that much older. This movie for 1960 seems kind of weirdly modern in a lot of ways. But
streamlined. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
And like, just think about in terms of horror movies, the movie before this that was the most famous ever was Diabolique, right?
For in that genre.
In the
for
horror
being
movie genre.
Scary.
I mean, in any type of horror. I mean, the movies I think of when I think of horror movies that hold up were all in the 70s. So like 10 years after this movie, like Alien or like The Exorcist or like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like any of those movies that kind of still hold up now, those were still over 10 years after this movie came out. And, this movie came out only a few years after Diabolique, and it seems way more advanced than Diabolique.
Yeah,
right?
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. As far as being like a horror film, this is a horror film, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's comparable to The Exorcist. I think The Exorcist is more scary, but it had 15 years on it.
Was 70s, right?
It was like 73, I think.
Yeah.
So that's 13
just
years
the
later.
idea of The Exorcist can be
Which
creepy,
is another
though,
film
in
I don't know
comparison
we
to
should
this.
do at some point.
It's on the list for the Halloween thing. We should talk about the list I have for Halloween.
We will after we're done with this.
Okay.
So yeah.
When are we done with this?
I got more trivia. Don't you love trivia, TC? Don't you love it?
Let's move it
Oh,
along.
what are we talking about
We're
here?
going to be here all night.
Ay.
I love hanging out with you guys. Come on.
Yeah, isn't it great?
Yeah, it's great. All right, so more trivia. The writer, so they actually had two writers. They had a guy, so it was based in a book. Then they hired a writer to write a screenplay, and it was apparently very boring. So they fired that writer. Isn't that a good piece of trivia? So they hired a second writer to rewrite the movie. And what happened was Hitchcock's wife, Alma, it was kind of his tastemaker, I guess. I don't know what else you'd call it. She'd read the scripts that he got, and if she liked it, then Hitchcock would make it. So she was kind of like the person that chose the scripts for Hitchcock. So he read the second guy's script and loved the scene in the very beginning of the movie where the two characters, like the lovers, are having a fight or whatever, and she leaves. I don't even really pay attention to that scene, to be honest.
No, I know. I don't remember much of it either.
To say that, but they were just like
they were
talking about
they were just having they were being spattish.
Yeah,
well, or about
stupid.
who's gonna move with who or whatever. I don't know. It feels like I didn't even know like maybe he's married or something. I didn't know what was going on.
I honestly didn't pay attention.
Yeah, me neither. I agree. There was some kind of tension. They were having some kind of, almost like it was an affair or something. There was some kind of tension there. But it wasn't like he was really married. But I don't know what was going on.
But apparently Alma loved that scene, and Hitchcock was like, "All right, you're hired. We're doing you. Here we go. We're doing you. We're doing you." Yeah. But that was the thing for all of his movies. Apparently, it was his wife. Alma liked it. Oh, good. Then we're gonna get money.
Thank
cool.
God for that.
Getting paid. Thanks, Alma.
It seems to have served him well. If that was his way of deciding whether to make a film or not.
Yep. They decided to use all strings in the score, because it was a very they wanted the high frequency stuff, which is like a tension thing, and they thought like strings were kind of like a stabbing motion sort of thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all those violinists that really just want to kill people.
Mm-hmm. This movie has in the score, I couldn't quite tell you when it was exactly, but there's like a progression of notes with certain instruments, strings, that is ripped off in the first Star Wars movie. The scene I can tell you when it is in Star Wars, when they're hiding in the Millennium Falcon and the stormtroopers had just left, and Han Solo pops the door up and they come out when they're hiding. There's like a 5-second piece of music that is directly ripped off from this movie, and that's intentional.
Oh, wow. Oh, cool.
Kind of weird. You wouldn't think that those movies would jive in any way, but
it did.
Yeah. The censorship board was called the Hayes Office. Sounds like a private firm, probably some rich fucks in Hollywood, just like saying, nope. Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Nope.
Maybe
yes, if you pay me some money. Maybe yes.
Right. Take me out to dinner and maybe it's a yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fucking money.
But money in the name of morality too, because so you get to pat yourself on the back for being such a wonderful person.
You got to justify it, You can always justify the money.
Oh yeah, it feels good to have it both ways.
Because then you have the money and you're a good person. It's
right.
Great.
Oh yes, that's right. You're going to heaven and you're rich. It's awesome.
And you get to bring all the money. That's true.
It's so beautiful.
You got to bury yourself with it though. You
That's
put
right.
it in the coffin.
And that all just means that it has to be right because this is so good. Must be what God wants. It's awesome.
Seems right.
There's a trailer for this movie they put out way back in the day, and it's a pretty long trailer. It's like 5 minutes, and Hitchcock is just walking around the sets of the movie being like, "Oh, these stairs are a scene of some horribly grisly violence. Oh, I can't talk about it." And then like walk to the next area.
The way you do Hitchcock, it's like it's Adam Sandler doing Hitchcock,
or like Tim Allen or something.
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah,
I'd love to see Adam Sandler as Hitchcock, but yes, go on.
So that was a weird trailer. You can look it up. Kind of worth it. He has I don't think he's very funny. He tries to be funny a lot, but it's kind of like a lame sense of humor, which might be part of the appeal.
But that's almost funny because he's so weird.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah,
his timing's all off, but he's I don't know.
Yeah. He's very prudish, it seems almost like, so I don't know.
This movie was so popular that, you think of Hitchcock as being popular. He had already had a bunch of hits, and he had the TV show at this time, which at the time made you even more, like television now is kind of secondary, but back then he had this it was huge.
Major. That's the entire country.
You had there wasn't that many TV shows back then, and he had one, and everybody knew who he was because they could turn on their television and watch him on TV
with their TV dinners.
And this was after all of that, and this movie made him even more popular. That's how big this movie was.
Nice.
It was huge. Everybody saw it.
I had TV dinner in a long time. Salisbury steak was good.
Oh, don't eat that.
I love Salisbury steak.
It's bad.
Don't eat that.
I know, but it was good. That was my favorite.
Sometimes the gravy wouldn't melt, and you'd have a little ice cold gravy in the corner of the little plastic tray.
No, that's not good. That's not so good. I don't know. That's a bad oven. Anyway.
So this movie came out to not great reviews.
Really?
Yeah. Surprising. But they had a good excuse for it. This movie, because it was so secretive, they wouldn't give reviewers screener copies, which is what they always did 100% of the time for all movies. So all these reviewers could watch movies at home. That's what they did. They felt comfortable doing that. They liked doing that. With this movie, they had to go opening night with a crowded
It's not like
theater.
you had VCRs. Did they have movie projectors in their home?
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So they had screener, all these reviewers had actual theaters in their houses so they could watch it privately to review the movies.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, they're loaded.
So yeah, they thought that they were just pissed because they had to go opening night to a theater.
Any normal person,
with the rabble, with the fucking plebs.
Yeah, with the filthy mobs.
Yeah, with all these people screaming because people would also scream and yell at the scream of this.
Right, very annoying for the reviewer when they could have just watched it in their own private movie theater.
I know. Would have been easier.
Yeah, so fuck this film.
Apparently, when people watch this movie, they would scream for a long period of time at the movie. Like, especially towards the end, the scene, scream and yell.
Just out of just straight scream and just hold? Or
they would yell at the characters. Like the scene at the end where the sister character is in the house and Norman comes in and she's hiding in like the stairwell and stuff and she goes in the basement. People are like, no, don't go in the basement. Like, what are you doing?
Oh,
they were just screaming because they couldn't contain themselves. And everybody did that. And maybe that pissed the critics off. I don't know. Because I can't hear what they're saying. How am I supposed to review this?
There are all these poor people that are talking.
Yeah, seriously,
yelling
that's what it was.
at me, just like no decorum.
Yeah. Oh, this guy spilled the Diet Coke on me. Fuck this. I hate this. That's movie gets a 1 star.
It's disgusting. My feet are stuck to the floor.
So that's what they said because movie reviewers this year, like the year it came out, revised their reviews for the movie later on in the year. Yeah. Oh. Just because they saw how popular it was. Like they were posted the reviews after the first week and they're like, this movie sucks. But then it was a huge hit and they're like, actually, I don't want people to hate me as a reviewer, so I'll change my opinion so I can stay relevant because I'm actually just a fucking hack.
That's right. And this is my career. And also I need to get people to think that I know what I'm talking about. And if they violently disagree with me.
Mm-hmm. And the newspaper's getting hate mail and they don't like that. So they're telling me what to do. And I'm going to listen because they pay me.
Bobby, Bobby,
right.
You need to fix this, Bobby, now. But you don't understand. I had to go to the film like anybody else.
I had Joob Joob stuck in the trench of my shoe for weeks.
That's right. I had to wait in line. Have you ever waited in line? Oh my God.
The other secretary, I'm gonna whiz through here. Ready?
Boom.
Other secretary in the beginning of the movie is Hitchcock's daughter. That is actually Hitchcock's daughter.
Oh,
she acts in the movie.
I wonder how messed up she is.
Is she alive?
Seems fine. She was. Well, she was back in the early 2000s when they filmed the making of.
She was.
So she is actually probably dead.
I don't know.
I said that, and I remembered one of the guys, the assistant director, didn't look that old. But then I looked him up before this, and it was like he died in 2006, and I was like,
she died. She died in 2021.
It's not too long ago.
And then in Thousand Oaks.
They used 50 millimeter lenses in this movie like they did for a lot of Hitchcock movies because it was at the time the closest lens to human eyesight. They said that like there might be a lens that is closer to human eyesight now, which I don't know about, but that's interesting. But he does that because, like we mentioned quickly earlier, that all of Hitchcock's movies are partially about voyeurism. Because he thinks
it's
movies
about like what you're seeing.
Right.
He wants you to be like you were there and you're looking at all these things.
Yeah. So that's why he used that.
And
he kept the costs down during the shoot by storyboarding everything. He used Saul Bass for a lot of it, but other people did it too. So there was actually a day when they were supposed to shoot the up the stairs scene where Hitchcock had the flu and he couldn't come in. So he told the assistant director to shoot it. So they did a whole day of shooting without Hitchcock. And Hitchcock came in, and guess what? He didn't like it, so he threw all that shit away.
Well, he didn't like. So I thought he just didn't like a certain part of it.
He didn't like it how in the storyboards they basically followed the storyboards, but what they didn't get across in the storyboards was that the hand going up the banister was in the way the assistant director shot it was tense, as in the person going up the stairs knew something bad was going to happen. But what Hitchcock wanted was the guy to be totally relaxed because he's just going up the stairs of an old lady's house. He wasn't expecting anything bad to happen, so he had to reshoot it.
Knocking on the door, hitting the doorbell, whatever. Just go on in.
Strut on in there. People were more trusting back in the day.
I guess so.
All the cars in this movie are Fords because Ford was a sponsor for the studio at the time.
Oh, nice.
Yep. There was a term back in the day that Hitchcock used frequently called icebox talk, and that was when people would go after they saw a movie and pick apart logical flaws of the movie. You know, when they would say like, oh, why did that person do that? It doesn't make any sense. Like, if I was a real person, I would have done that. So there was a whole scene where Norman Bates was like cleaning up the hotel and putting away all of the shoes and everything like that he put in there because he didn't want people to think that what happened between when he killed her and the next day sort of thing.
I mean, I kind of like that scene in a sense.
I did
it's
too.
like very, very like,
it was very modern the way they did it. It was like true crime type of stuff.
and boring in a way. It's
Yeah,
like,
but it
this
wasn't
is the
boring because there was
aftermath.
blood and bodies.
No, I know,
and-
but it's tedious. Like they're just like, okay, now we got to clean up the murder scene.
Yep.
You know, yeah.
And it looked good. Like he was just mopping the blood away. Just very linear, nothing flashy at all.
That's right. Yeah, I sort of like that. Yeah.
Oh, they cut lines from the scripts that were about Norman and Mother being more than just mother and son. So there was like sexual stuff going on there that was in the scripts.
Some Oedipus things.
Yeah. So they had to remove that because definitely too risque for 1960.
And probably not needed.
Not needed. Could have been a little creepier.
Didn't need to go there. But yeah, a little stranger.
T-Tane would have done it. They did it. T-Tane did it.
They did it. They got a car.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've already kind of said this, but the quote from Hitchcock was when Anthony Perkins was talking about the risk to walking up the stairs in a kind of a feminine waddle.
Doing the wiggle.
Yeah. Anthony Hopkins asked Hitchcock, is it a risk? And then Hitchcock said, possibly, but why not try it?
Slip of the tongue when you called him Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Perkins.
But
Anthony Hopkins is
who
better
played
than-
Hitchcock. Oh,
He plays
full
Hitchcock.
circle.
That's
yeah.
right.
I know, but also just, again, the idea of another scary yet slightly charismatic bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, Hannibal was even more, but we'll get to that one.
That's it, guys.
All right.
See you later, Hitchcock.
Bye,
Wave
Hitchcock.
goodbye.
It was fun.
It was
Yes, it was. I mean, he unquestionably like just a huge influence on films and
For sure.
sort of in terms of these kinds of thriller genre action and so forth. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Would you put it in the
Later.
top 250?
You have to, I think,
I
in
think
terms
you
of
probably
its
have to.
I think
influence
you
and-
probably have to. Yeah.
You do.
I'm doing, yeah.
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 Reluctantly, yes.
All right. So next week,
What are we doing?
we're going to watch Talk to Me. This movie
Does
is
that
new.
that doesn't start getting into
Talk to me.
We're not into our October yet, so this will be like a bonus horror
Hell
film.
yeah. The more the merrier. Let's just keep it going.
I know,
Horror
as far
train.
as you're concerned. All right, that's fine. But yeah, well, because that's what you, Denny, and you and I will get to see it together, so that'll be fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go see it. All right. This will be whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah. Fucking, I'm not a huge horror fan, so, but if I'm,
Go
at
go.
the
If you
theater,
can go see it
at the theater,
If
it'll
you
be
see it in a
cool.
theater with a packed
Yeah.
theater, that's
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
It's A24 TC. You know it's going to
I
be
know,
good.
and they always make good stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed.
All right.
Okay.
We'll go over like the options for Halloween stuff.
Yeah.
When Halloween, October.
Yeah, I
gets
still want to
here.
do Hereditary. I've been like holding off watching that, so that
Okay,
was one
good.
that I keep getting
That's on the top of
told
my list.
that is terrifying.
Yeah, that movie that'll be like the serious shit your pants horror movie pick for this year.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
I got a friend who used to like horror movies, watched that movie, and will not watch horror movies anymore.
That's like that's it.
Oh, man.
That's it.
I don't want to watch that.
It's too real now.
I don't wanna watch
Prepare
that.
yourself, TC. It's Halloween. Come on.
All right.
You
all
got
right,
it.
All right.
All right, I'm sweating
All right.
balls in this room.
Yeah.
See you guys
guys.
later.
And with that,
With
that's
that.
it.
Yes, that's right.
Stop 'em.